action figure fans? It's the one and only Optipotamus coming to with another video review. If you're an old subscriber, thanks for coming back. If you're a new one though, welcome. Before you leave, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and bell notification so that hopefully you'll get instant email notifications whenever I upload a new review. And on today's episode, thanks to the support of my patrons, today we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Siege Voyager class APEFACE. For the package, much like a lot of these Siege figures, you got that Siege logo with the Transformers text along the side. You got a nice open window that fully showcases them. One thing that I'm noticing though is that he's really crammed in there and basically pushing up against the window. So I would be cautious when going through picking yours to make sure that there's no paint rub or anything. That's just a little something to keep your eyes on. The side here has an absolutely gorgeous image of APEFACE, fully decked out in his robot mode, looking massive. Come around to the other side, you got that very familiar image of the Ark taking off from Cybertron with other characters there in the back. Then you come around to the back of the package and you can see that, as I said, this guy's pretty massive. And the reason is because APEFACE is a triple changer. You can see his robot mode, his jet mode, as well as his ape mode. And then much like all of these new Siege figures, you can use this with Battle Masters and obviously the included blast effects. But for the packaging on this guy, that's about it. So without further ado, let's get him out here and see how cool he actually is. Alright guys, so here we have APEFACE opened up out of his packaging and obviously in one of his alt modes, that being his jet. And much like every single triple changer in history, there's always one mode that just isn't as good as the others. And the jet mode here for APEFACE, I feel, is that mode. It's not terrible, but when you look at it, this is one of those things where it's like, how the hell does this thing fly? I mean, you really got to stretch your mind to look at this and be like, oh yeah, okay, it's a plane. But I mean, as an action figure, you know, I mean, I guess kids aren't really going to care that much, but it definitely is fairly weak. From the top, it's a little bit better. Definitely not aerodynamic with the squared off section right here. You got wings on this side, which some people have talked about. They think that maybe the wings are reversed. I don't really care all that much. It looks okay. You got a nice Decepticon logo there. He does have a lot of this battle damage. You see it in terms of a jet mode here on the front cockpit section. That, you know, kind of looks bad. You see a lot of it down here on the bottom where his legs and then part of his arms are going to be. So he does have a lot of that going on. And I know some people get really turned off by it, but I don't think it's terrible. You can attach his gun to the undersection of the cockpit. You got a couple different holes right here, actually, that you can, I guess you can put one there. It's a little bit easier to put it in that whole section there in the front, just because that's a little bit further back. I guess you could plug it there. Well, maybe not. You can plug it there. If you don't do, you can plug it there. If you don't do, plug it there. If you don't do, whatever you don't do. So you do have that. He does have this section right here, which can remove. I'm going to go ahead and take some of this off. I have heard about people damaging this, so just kind of wiggle a little bit. They talked about how this section right here has cracked on theirs. Mine hasn't yet, but it does look like it's all molded in this clearish blue plastic and then painted with a fairly nice glossy paint. But because it's clear, I guess people are worried about the durability of it. I don't think it's that bad. And then you got the cockpit section right here that you can open up. And on the inside, and I forgot the guy's name. APEFACE he was like in one episode of the original G1 series, and then he was in the Headmaster series. And I never really got into the Headmaster series too much, but here's that little dude, a pretty decent detail. Coming in to take a closer look at that. You can see that some nice paint on his head. It's got a red face with the nice goldish kind of visor. The head section here is on a ball joint, so you can kind of twist that around. Black section here for the arms. Those are on ball joints. You can bring those out, but really that's about it. You're just going to move them forward and back. You got a clear white-ish bit here for the torso. The legs are attached because what you have are basically two different heads. You fold this up, and when you collapse that down, bringing that all the way in, you got the robot mode head form, and then the opposite side is the top visor section of his ape mode head. So these do not swivel independently. So it's kind of weird, but it's a fairly cohesive looking head, which does look pretty decent depending on which angle you kind of look at it. So you do have that. I don't know if you consider that an accessory, but you do have that. The rest of the figure itself, though, is pretty decent. Now, a lot of people are complaining about this white plastic, and it is difficult to see a lot of the detail, and I know I use a lot of light in mine, so it's probably going to make it even harder. Let me see if I can lower the exposure some. You can kind of see the detail in it. It's really hard to pick out, though. Now, people have talked about how it kind of looks like soap, I guess, and kind of, to be honest, it sort of does. It really reminds me of glow-in-the-dark plastic, though. It doesn't actually glow in the dark, but if you know that really kind of whitish plastic that glow-in-the-dark stuff has, it's similar to this, but it's got some decent molded in detail. I forgot who it was. I watched a video on that, and they said that this isn't even plastic. It's not vinyl, so I don't forgot. But it's a different type of material. It still feels durable. I don't think it's very fragile or anything. People just basically complain because it's very hard to pick out the details in it. And like I said, I know that mine's fairly hard to see because of the bright lights that I employ. So I don't know how durable it is. Only time's really going to tell. You can see that you can see the detail a lot better here. Maybe if they just put some panel lines in there or a dry brush or something over it just to kind of break it up, I guess. I mean, the sculpted in detail is actually really nice when you're able to look at it. But it definitely could be done a little bit differently. Now, the transformation form is fairly simple. There are some tricky elements, and a lot of it has to do with these bits up here, but you don't have to worry about that too much when you're going from his alt modes to his robot mode. It's mostly going back into something like this. So first, what you're going to want to do is, if you haven't removed this, go ahead and remove that. I'm going to go and lift these bits up as well. They're just on little kind of sliding joints, so just kind of grab that, lift that up. That'll allow you just to kind of move things around, kind of get that out of the way. Come down here to these. You want to separate that, and then these you can hinge down. Do that on this side as well. As see, I'm going to just rotate these up around like that. Now, these are going to become his ape arms, so you can see what's happening here. Fold out his little, and I love the fact that they're bent around like knuckles. That's really cool how they did that. I think that's great. Then come around here to this section. This part right here, it tabs up here in here. Just kind of pull this away, and that'll kind of pull this section out as well. Now this part is where it gets a little bit tricky. You do have to kind of make sure everything stays lined up, and it does get a little problematic. So you got this. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this. Right here is a little kind of hook section that locks in to that joint right there. So you have to swivel this around, and it locks down when you push it. But when you do it, it tends to move everything else. So just kind of push that there, and then you'll feel it pop into place. Then these bits, and this is really hard to see, but there's little hook sections here that you kind of have to line everything up, and then I guess it just kind of sits there. I don't know. See, that's not even in there. So kind of have to push this down, and it hooks in there. It's so tricky to do, but when you get that pushed down, do that on this side. I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see that, but keep everything squeezed in, and yeah, see, things pop out. It is, there we go. It is tricky to do, but just kind of push it down. It slides in, it locks into place. If you didn't knock these loose, just kind of push those back in there and keep it as best lined up as you can. This piece right here is just going to kind of sit right there. These, you just swivel these out and then rotate these around. There is a little nub on the body section right underneath here that locks things in. Just kind of pull that out, rotate that around, and then just straighten out these legs as best as you can. Kind of get them straight for his walking pose. So something like that of sorts. Again, I'm just kind of fiddling with this to kind of get that position properly. And then when you want to bring this piece out, and this, like I said, makes up the eyes for him. So just take this and slide that down like so, and there you have him in his ape mode. Now this mode actually, I think, is pretty darn cool looking. It works really well. The crazy arms down here work good. The little tiny legs work pretty good. Obviously, you do have some jet stuff. I mean, you can take this if you really wanted to. You can put this there, I guess, or put it there. I mean, you can put these any number of places. You could probably actually leave it right down here. I think you're actually supposed to. So that's supposed to stay collapsed down. Let's see. So bring that around. And that, yeah, that's probably gonna stay collapsed. I don't know if I have that right. I don't remember, something like that. But I think you can leave that right there. That works, I suppose. I guess it really doesn't matter. You can put the cannon right there. Do whatever you want with it. But I think that this is actually pretty cool looking. I do like it. This is, other than his actual robot mode, this is probably my favorite alt mode for him. It just looks cool. The head looks pretty darn good. It doesn't really rotate too much. You can kind of get, I mean, you can see, you move it left, right. It kind of goes up and down, side to side a bit. Not really full on side to side because of the way that joint is, but it's pretty decent nonetheless. You got big giant ball joints here for the gorilla arm. These kind of bend backwards. You can see that they're always going to be kind of bent like that when you have it in this configuration, but you can move it back like so. The hands here do angle. I do, like I said, love the fact that he's got the knuckle drag thing going. I mean, I think that is really fun looking. This mode, you don't see a ton of that battle damage. Again, you got it on the cockpit section, and then you got it down here, but it's not overkill just yet. You got kind of clunky thighs, but those are his robot arms. There's not really much you can do about them. But he's cool. I like him. You do get a little bit more showing of that weird white plastic, kind of like with the arms here, the legs, the forearms here. But again, I don't know necessarily if it's going to be a bad thing over time. But like I said, of his alt modes, I definitely think that this is the better of the two. I really do dig the way that this guy looks. Now, to go to his robot mode, we're going to remove this, and I'm going to take this piece off as well. Just kind of pull that off just like so. This whole section here, well, let's take the little head off. We're going to remove that. And then this section, you have to detach that little segment and pull that away, and we're going to tuck that head and hide that. You can fold that down like so, and then spin this whole thing around. Take these, we're going to tuck these up and in, and this is where things get a little bit confusing with him. This bit right here, you want to detach this and pull that away. They tab in very nicely right up under there. They have a tendency to dislodge, but it's not terribly bad. And then you got a lot of weirdness down here. So you have to pull these apart. And then we're going to swivel these out. And then kind of bring that around. And bring that down. Let's see, get that out of the way like that. Bring that down. Rotate these around, and you're going to lock these back and along the side, and then hinge those out like so. Bring these all the way out, and you want to keep this section straight, just like that. And let's see, keep that like so. And then this, get that out of the way. The legs are definitely tricky to do, but you want to rotate this around, and then that will lock in right there. So again, do that on this side. Bring this all the way up. Make sure that that section stays down like that, and then rotate this all the way around, locking into place. And then you can take these, fold these out for his little feetums, just like that. These little bits are going to rotate all the way around, and then, well, that kind of goes right there. Let's see, get that up there. You're gonna have that big giant thing right there, and then fold these arms out. These little bits right here are just literally gonna sit right there on the shoulder section. So again, you want to bring these out, and then there's little tabs here that will lock things into place. So let's get that arm pulled out like that, and then these lock into place. So again, you got little nubs here that are going to kind of line things up. Let's see, I'm gonna pull these out. Yeah, come on, there we go. Get that there, and I want to line those little nubs up there and kind of push those in a little bit right there, kind of make sure that those stay lined up. For the most part, you got little tabs on the back here that'll line up with little slot bits on the back of the wing. So just pull that in and give those a little push, locking those into place right there. You got the fist here, rotate that out, rotate that out. There we go. Kind of straighten this up. This piece right here is going to come up. I thought that maybe these little tab pieces will lock things in here, but it doesn't really do anything. It's kind of they kind of tab in, but it's on an angle. It doesn't really do much. And then that will lock up along the back section. Take his head. Now you're going to use this section in the front, and then tab that down just like so. And when you're done, there you have APEFACE in his robot mode. In his robot mode, he looks absolutely terrific. But again, that same sort of, I guess, aesthetic look for him does still kind of come into play here. All this white plastic here, while sculpted very nicely, all has, like I said, that glow-in-the-dark sort of look to it, and it doesn't glow in the dark at all. I mean, I don't think it does. I mean, although when you put that on there, I mean, yeah, it doesn't glow in the dark, but a black light does really make that guy look pretty darn cool, especially like these wings. That's really neat how that comes across. So yeah, it doesn't make him glow in the dark, but it looks like that plastic. Now, the other thing is that he does have a lot of this goop all over him. You see it here in the legs. There's a lot of that splatter on there. You got that in the arms as well. It's all very obvious. You come around, you can see it on the cockpit section right there. You don't need to have this on there. I think the instructions actually have this being like this shield of sorts, so you could put it there or something like that, but I don't know. I just figured like putting it there would kind of look good, but it does kind of bulk up his back. So he does have a bit of a backpack, regardless if this is on there, but I think it just gives a little dynamic of a look. Detail-wise, does look really very nice. Like I said, all of this white plastic, while some people have also likened it to bar soap sort of looking plastic. There's a lot of detail sculpted into it, but that really doesn't mean too much because the rest of the figure has a lot of sculpted detail into it, like his thighs. I mean, every other colored piece of plastic has it. So I don't know why they went with this. It does feel different. And like I said, somebody else mentioned it's a different type of plastic. I don't know what kind it is. I don't know if that was a cost-cutting measure. I don't feel it's bad, but I do think that they should have added some wash on there just to break up all this white. The rest of the body, though, looks pretty good. One thing that I have a little bit loose of a leg here. That kind of droops. That's not too bad. But I also kind of feel like his feet are strange. He has a tendency to want to topple back, as you can see. And I don't know why, because his feet are huge here. They just, if you keep them spread out where they're flat, you can see. I mean, he wants to topple. I mean, you can get it. Usually it works a little bit better if you rotate him, but if you have him straight on, he has a like that. He has a tendency to want to rock back, and I don't know why, because he's got big giant feet. What is weird though is you got like these little hole sections on the bottom here, little teeny tiny hole section right there that tabs in. That's kind of meant to lock his foot into place if you wanted to have him stand upright. That works pretty good, but again, he does, it feels like he has a tendency. I mean, obviously he's leaning forward, so maybe if you had him straight, it's just a weird annoyance that I have. Rest of his articulation is pretty good. The head is on a ball joint because it's using that Prime Master, or whatever you want to call it, sort of the gimmick where the little guy has a head that's on a ball joint, so you can rotate that around, but it just kind of pops off when you try to move it up and down. The shoulders here rotate. I don't know why we need to show this. Thank you, Vangelis, for calling us out on this. I don't know why we need to say that a shoulder goes all the way around. Like that's a thing. That's important. I don't know. They hinge outward. I did just bring up Vangelis. Rotates at the upper part of the bicep. Very tight joint right there. And then he bends at the elbow. The other problem, though, is when you bend it at the elbow and then you try moving it back, it's got two joints here, and this one tends to always slide back because this one here is really tight. So that's a little unfortunate. Doesn't rotate at the waist, which is unfortunate, but, I mean, I get why they eliminated that. The hips move forward. They move back. Those are really tight as well. Rotation at the upper part of the thigh. Bends at the knee. As I said, this one is a little bit loose, and you can see drops. This one, perfectly fine. That doesn't do really anything. The ankles do have the tilt, kind of as part of the transformation of sorts, so you can get a good wide pose with them, but I think they really want you to keep it in an up and down sort of position, just because I don't feel he would have put those tabs there otherwise. I literally don't see the point in that. It's weird. I don't know, but I guess you also have toe articulation. He does have a ton of these ports. You can see some in his feet. I mean, a lot of them are used in these various alt modes, but the overall presence of him is really nice. I think he's a very cool figure. He is a Voyager, so he's a pretty good size, bringing in Voyager class Optimus Prime, the 35th anniversary one. You can see that they're about the same height, but obviously Optimus is a little taller. So even though he's a Voyager size figure and he's a little bit shorter than Optimus, the fact that he's got 3 different modes, I think, makes up for it. First, take all this stuff off if you didn't take it out. You can pull this apart, kind of hinge that down to the side. Go ahead, pull his head off like so, and then you can take his hands, rotate those around just like so. You want to bring these up and back. You have a little tiny slot section here that this is going to lock into, just like that. And do that on this side. Get that in there, locking that into place just like so. These bits you want to detach, and you can kind of do whatever you want with these wings for the most part. Pull that away and then straighten these out, and obviously we're going into his little ape mode. Make sure that this all stays locked in like that. So you bring that down. I could have swore that locked in. Am I ridiculous? I might be ridiculous here, guys. So something like, there we go. Yep. that lines up and shifts in. There we go. So legs, get that down and out. These legs do get a little bit kind of crazy when you're transforming them. Let's come around here. These are going to swivel all the way around. Come on. Let's see. Oh. Get that out of the way. And that might... There. I'm holding the piece down that I need to rotate. I'm sorry. And then this hinges up like that. And these are going to tab in right here. It's very possible they'll pop out, but we can fix all that later on as we move on. Go ahead and take these, tuck that up, turn them on upside down like that. Now this part, like I said, gets a little bit tricky. I'm going to bring this out and extend this piece out like so. You have this piece that's going to come up, and all this stuff here has to, well, kind of come around. So keep that there, and then you rotate this around. Now this part, the back section here is not very good. Like there's a whole bunch of different tabs here. This one has to go under. This one kind of has to go behind. To this date, I don't know if I have it properly lined up, but yeah, it's kind of a pain, but I think it's supposed to be kind of like that. It's not easy to do, and people were complaining about the plastic quality here and whether or not this material is durable, and they were pointing kind of to this part as being something problematic for the transformation, and I could see that. I don't know necessarily if that's going to come to fruition, just because we don't know how long this plastic is going to last. But it's like I feel like I don't have that hinged all the way down, and maybe I don't. So you gotta line that up, put that there. Yeah, it's not good. And this, yeah, this whole section has to shift down. So, oh, there we go. No, none of this back stuff is lined up proper. I don't like this. The back section here. Oh wait, did I inadvertently get it? I think I might have. So it's going to end up looking like that. And then you want to make sure that these parts stay tabbed down. That was, oh, terrible. Okay, this part comes around, and then, again, these have to kind of slide in and then hook forward, and that's going to make everything come undone. Again, I don't like that design going into this mode, but there, I think I got it. Push this. Oh, wait, did I? This has to go all the way down. There we go. And then that locks down. Just kind of fighting this. And that's really something that you shouldn't do. Maybe because they're trying to put 3 modes into this. But I feel like this one definitely suffers from some of these issues. You can rotate this up. You can do whatever you want with these little wings. Put them up or down. Guess it doesn't matter. Honestly, that kind of looks cool. Like that. And then, of course, take the head. Put that down. There you have it. APEFACE back in his ape mode. Again, I think it's my preferred alt mode. But it is definitely a pain in the butt to get it to this point. Robot mode, or jet mode. Just because you got to go to it. This piece comes up. This is going to hinge up and around. And if you didn't dislodge everything, fucking hell. Yeah, I said it. This is going to tab in. And yeah, see, all of this stuff sucks. I'm just going to kind of put that there, knowing that it's supposed to go there. And hopefully get everything else situated. Yeah, something like that. But again, see, like all this back stuff is just not working. Bring this up. These are going to tuck. Are you serious? Are you fucking serious? No, that's not staying down. Tuck that around, and then this slots in here. At this point in time, I don't even think I have it lined up proper, and it sucks because this mode, this is the worst part about it, transforming him back into his alt modes. Robot mode's easy. As sometimes we know, Transformers have 2 modes for the most part. And bring this up. And usually one is easier than the other. When it comes to a triple changer, you're kind of left like fighting things. So bring that around. That dislodged. That, slide that down. All of this is straight up cluster fudged. But you get the general gist of it. Put that there. Done. Now I know there was frustration on my part, and it's because this is kind of a frustrating transformation. This whole part right here, it tabs down and under, over, sideways, all at the same time, and you have to really kind of twist and get everything situated, and I don't like doing that. It is a pain in my ass. And a transformer, typically for me, is viewed on 3 different criteria: the vehicle mode, the robot mode, and the transformation. As a triple changer, as I said, there's a lot of times that one of the alt modes usually suffers, and I feel this is the worst of it. It's not terrible though, but it's definitely not the best. The ape mode, I think, is probably the most cohesive looking, and I really do like it. Robot mode though, I also think looks great. But the transformation on this guy is a bit of a pain. At least when you're transforming him into his other modes from this, you're pulling things apart, so you don't have to worry about keeping things lined up and making them look pretty. So getting out of this mode is perfectly okay. It's going into this one that, overall, I still recommend the figure. He's definitely just not as fun as some of the other Siege ones. Also, I don't really have too much of an attachment to this character because, as I said, he was only in 1 episode of G1 that was aired here in North America. So I only really saw him that one time. It was the Japanese Headmaster series that evolved this guy, but I never got into that much. So while he's a very cool figure, I do like him. I think he's going to appeal more to those people that are huge fans of his. If you're a casual fan of Transformers, this might be a good pass. Save your money for that Astro Train figure that's coming out. This is definitely a love or hate type of figure, and unfortunately there's really not much middle ground. So I hope this review was helpful. If not, I tried. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. Remember though, if you like this video, I would really appreciate it if you would do one small thing for me. And that's to simply hit that thumbs up button. Right now, with YouTube threatening to demonetize and not send out notifications and all that stuff, getting your support with things like that really does go a long way towards helping me out. At least, I hope it does. Having said all that, I do want to send a huge shout out to all of my patrons, who through their direct support is why reviews like this are possible. And if you'd like information on how you can help support my channel by becoming a patron and making sure that you never miss out on future reviews of mine, be able to leave comments all through the exclusive Patreon feed, feel free to check out my Patreon page at patreon.com/optibotimus. If I can get 1/2 of 1% of you to actually support me through Patreon, I can completely eliminate YouTube and not have to worry about any of their demonetization problems. So whatever you can do, I would really appreciate it. And finally, guys, remember, the real trouble with the world is that too many people grow up. Thank you for watching and taking the time to be a collector.